At 8:02 hours, somewhere over Iran's Zagros mountains, an American aircraft disappeared from the night sky.
He was injured, alone, and stranded deep inside hostile territory, with enemy forces already moving toward the crash site.
And that is where tonight's story begins. Welcome to Bluewater Dominion. We cover naval power, U.S. strategy, and modern defense technology with a clear, visual, and strategic approach. But tonight, we are stepping slightly inland to examine a different kind of mission pie.
One that still says everything about American power, joint force integration, and the brutal reality of modern warfare when the original plan collapses. This was a race to bring one American home before the mountain, the weather, and the enemy closed the door for good. And before this night was over, the United States would be forced to answer a question that has followed American warfighters for generations.
The crew knew it was narrow, the routing was tight, and the mark.
An air defense element had adapted faster than expected. Then, it happened.
The aircraft was hit. Not torn apart instantly and dead, but damaged enough to make recovery impossible.
In modern combat aviation, there are moments when training takes over before fear has time to fully register.
The crew had only seconds to act. Ejection was violent, disorienting, and unforgiving.
Up to that point, this had been an aviation problem. Now, it was a personnel recovery crisis.
He was alive, but barely. Injured, alone.
Assess, move, hide, and transmit only when necessary.
And somewhere far away, in rooms filled with screens, maps, and half-complete information,
Because a downed American pilot in enemy territory is never just one more battlefield variable.
It is a strategic event. If captured, he becomes intelligence value, propaganda value,
bargaining value, and escalation value, all at once. And everyone in the region knows it.
and the Zagros does not forgive mistakes. Part 2. Great. Alone on the mountain.
Freezing air, broken ground, altitude, pain, limited mobility. In movies, survival after ejection. The pilot knew search teams would come. The question was simple. Who would get there first?
He found cover where he could.
He reduced his signature. He transmitted only what he had to.
Then he waited, listening to the mountain. This is the part of recovery operations. On the ground, it becomes something more basic and much more human. Can the survivor stay hidden?
Can he stay conscious? Can he keep panic from destroying judgment before the rescue force ever gets close?
And then there was the other side of the equation. Iranian units had already begun shifting toward the area.
They knew an American aircraft had gone down. They knew the crash site mattered.
And they knew that if a pilot had survived, the next few hours could become a race.
With enormous strategic consequences. This is where lesser scripts turn the enemy into background noise.
That would be a mistake. Because a credible rescue story only works when the opposing side
He's competent, disciplined, and dangerous. And on this night, they were.
Local units began moving through the valleys. Thermal systems scanned ridgelines. Road access points were watched. Reporting moved upward. The search pattern was imperfect, but tightening.
And for the pilot on the mountain, the reality was getting colder by the minute. He did not know what Washington was debating. He only knew one thing.
If the rescue came at all, it would have to come soon.
Part 3. The command decision. At the operational level, the United States faced the kind of decision
That defines real military leadership. Act too slowly, and the pilot is lost.
act too aggressively, and a recovery mission turns into a regional crisis. Conventional options looked bad immediately. A visible rescue package risked early detection. A slower approach risked capture.
This is where modern military power is often misunderstood.
That process began immediately. Intelligence assets were redirected. Electronic options were reviewed.
Recovery planners searched for routes the enemy might not expect. Every decision was shaped by a brutal fact.
This mission did not need a perfect plan. It needed a plan that could survive contact with reality.
And that is a very different thing. The order was given. The United States would attempt recovery.
And here is the point many people miss. Recovery missions are not launched because leaders are reckless.
They are launched because the cost of inaction can become strategic in ways that extend far beyond one battlefield.
No nation that expects its people to operate in contested space can be casual about what happens when one of them goes down.
So the rescue package began to form. Quietly, carefully, under pressure.
And somewhere in the cold darkness of the Zagros, one wounded pilot still had no idea whether help with
signals became harder to sort cleanly. Attention shifted in the wrong direction at exactly the right moment. Not to blind the enemy completely, just to misdirect him long enough.
Recovery personnel moved in under that thin layer of confusion. Aviation support stayed low, disciplined, and exposed to its own risks.
No one involved mistook motion for safety. The mountain was still the mountain.
Move! Get in the truck now! Go! Move!
And adaptation is what make real operations dangerous. The rescue team got closer. No illusion that the mission was under control. That is one of the things older military audiences usually respect most in storytelling.
The mission itself was enough. Then came the link-up. The pilot was found alive, but he was in worse shape than expected. Cold injuries, shock, limited mobility. That changed everything.
Recovery had now become extraction, under degrading conditions.
And just when it seemed that the hardest part might be over, the battlefield changed again.
Now they had to keep him. This was the turning point of the night. The original deception did not fail all at once.
A separate Iranian element, operating with more local autonomy and less dependence on the disrupted network, detected movement near the route.
That mattered for one simple reason. It meant the Americans had not outsmarted the entire battlefield.
They had only bought time from part of it, and now that time was running out.
The shift was immediate. Search patterns sharpened. Movement converged. The window narrowed.
This is the moment when a weaker script would turn the story into a fantasy firefight.
But that is not what makes these operations compelling. What makes them compelling is controlled deterioration.
The Americans did not suddenly lose all options, but their best option was gone.
And through it all, the rescue team had to move a wounded pilot through mountain terrain while remaining fast enough to stay ahead of the search. That is not cinematic heroism. That is hard, exhausting, disciplined work under the kind of pressure that strips away every illusion. By now, everyone involved understood the same thing. This mission might still succeed.
But if it did, it would not be clean, and it would not be by much.
A test of training, judgment, coordination, and nerve. The extraction point was changed.
The route shifted. Supporting elements bought time where they could. No one pretended the battlefield had become manageable.
The goal was smaller than that.
Timing working against patience, and enemy proximity working against everything else.
This is where real military capability matters most. not in presentations, not in slogans. It matters when multiple moving parts are all close to failing at once.
And the people inside the system still find a way to keep the mission from breaking apart.
The load happened fast. The pilot was moved aboard. The team followed. The exit began.
And even then, success was not complete until hostile terrain had fallen away behind them.
Workable, but barely. That distinction matters.
Because the most credible military stories are not the ones where everything performs perfectly. They are the ones where people absorb friction, adapt in real time, and still execute after the original plan is gone.
That night, the United States brought one of its own home. But it did not do it through spectacle.
So what did Operation Shadowpeak actually prove? Not that modern war is clean. It is not.
Not that advanced systems make human judgment irrelevant. They do not.
And not that even the best military can eliminate uncertainty once a mission starts going bad. Because it cannot. What it proved was something more serious than that. It proved that the real edge in modern conflict is not just hardware.
It is integration. It is decision-making under pressure. And most of all, it proved that American military power means the most when it is used with discipline.
And the discipline to treat the recovery of one isolated pilot as a mission worth the effort, the danger, and the cost. That idea resonates for a reason. Because for generations of American service members, one principle has always carried special weight.
Not because recovery is easy. Not because it is cheap. But because it says something essential about the kind of force a nation chooses to be.
For one pilot, it meant survival. For everyone watching, it served as a reminder that power on paper.
The second one is the one that matters.
If you value serious military analysis without the Hollywood noise, make sure to subscribe to Bluewater Dominion.
And if this kind of scenario analysis is something you want more of, let me know in the comments. Would the future of recovery operations depend more on stealth and electronic warfare, or on the human element when technology stops going according to plan? This is Bluewater Dominion. And in modern conflict, dominance is never just about firepower.